everyone, Ms. Cosplay here. I'm going to teach all of you how to make arm socks for trolls. You can use this for anything you want, from you just want to make a pair of gloves, you want to make whatever. You can do that with this. So, you need a few things to get started. For troll gray, I would suggest getting white stockings. If you need something that is not a specific color you need, and you have that color in Snazaroo or whatever, get white. It's much easier to work with. So, you need your stockings. You need scissors, normal. You need fake nails. And to go with that, you need yellow nail polish. This is Triple Shine Sally Hansen. It is Lemon Shark number 250. That's what I have. The nails I have, oh, those are all painted, are these type. I just got a random pair from the random set. If I can get this, there we go. I just got a random set from CVS. If you don't have this, sorry, my computer. You also need the nail glue, which this came with what I had, the nails I got. You also need your needles, which I keep all on my donut because it keeps my pins and everything in one place. You will need a pair of plastic gloves, which you will understand later. You will need clear nail polish. And for cosplayers, clear nail polish will be your best friend for life. I will explain why in another video. I will do a tutorial with nail polish. You will need your Troll Gray face paint, which I have Snazaroo, water, thread, hairspray, baby powder, and 2 brushes. One for the paint and one for the baby powder. I believe that's it. That's all you need. So I am going to see you guys in the next video, because the next one will be the start of making your beautiful arm socks. Later. Alright, Miss Cosplay back. Step 1, after you get all of the things you need to make the arm socks, is first you have to thread your needle. The best thing what I do, I've already cut the thread. I go extremely long on this. It makes life a little easier, so you don't have to keep going back and back and back and getting more thread and everything else. What you can do is, if you have multiple needles, what you can do is thread all of your needles, and not, which I can show you guys how long I did this one, if it'll go back in the donut. Mine is thread this long, if you can, See, here's the needle right here. This is how long it is, okay? All the way here. So, I'm just going to start off like that. I have another one threaded just to be safe. So what you want to do is bring both strands together. See, I have both ends connected, so it holds like this. You want to do that to make it stronger, and so that way you won't have to go back multiple times. So what you have to do with this is you have to do a double knot. So just however you knot it, just knot it that way. Because if you have a double knot, sometimes I have to do multiple because it won't land on top of each other. Oh, it actually worked today. So you have something like that right there. And it makes it just so that way everything connects easier. Alright, now you can put on the gloves if you want. You don't have to wear them yet. I personally don't like wearing gloves, so I'm going to wait for the gloves for later. So, to do this, I got the biggest size stockings I could possibly get my hands on. Makes life easier if something happens like this pair. I messed up the first time, so I stretched it, cut it off, and started over. You don't have to bring it all the way up if you don't want to just yet, because you're just trying to make your socks, your hands. So try as hard as you can to keep this up a bit, so that way it's not in the way, which is just the seam. You don't want that. So, what I do is I start with the pinky, since it has the least amount that you really have to sew. So bear with me, guys, because this is going to be my first time sewing with my left hand. What you do first is you stitch the outline. So you stitch the outline going from here up to here, so you can get rid of this piece right here, okay? And you just sew it. You just pull through. It's gonna feel weird. And you push back through. So it just looks like a traditional stitch. A regular stitch. Nothing fancy. Nothing spectacular. It'll just look like, can you see that? It'll look like that all the way across. So I'm going to pause the video, get up to that point, and then I'll see you guys in a minute. Alright, I'm doing a couple of extra stitches. I've already gotten that much, so you can actually see where my finger is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way up to the top of my finger, though. That way it gives it a little more stability. So what I just do is I pull my finger away just a tad bit, and I try to stitch as straight as possible going the way up. Just to make it a little more sturdy. But remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So it will look like this on one side and that on another. It won't look perfect, and it's fine. Because it will be perfect later on. Okay, just about done. Alright, to end it, you leave a little loop. You see how there's like this little loop there? You go back up and go through that. See? Just like that. Pull, and it'll tighten itself. Thread. I should have done my thumb and first finger first. But it's up to you guys. You can do it whichever way you want. You can still close it off. It just takes a little bit of time. Or knot up the string again, so that way it's double knotted, which right now it's not working for me today. There we go. Okay. Put your needle somewhere where you know exactly where it's at so you don't lose it. It's always the worst thing to do. Now, you cut. You cut just within the space provided. You see how, there's the scissors. You see how there's the stitching? So you just cut in the center of the stitching. So, like this. There. See? Now you have a pinky, but not yet. There's still another step to do. As you can see, sometimes you miss a little bit. It'll get better once you start stitching. So now we're doing a different stitch. You start at the top, go through just like you did the first time. You just go through. And then what you do, okay, so you came through this way, right? So where the knot is face. Right now, the knot, the double knot, is facing my myself. And the needle is facing you guys. So what you do, you come back around to the same side as the knot. The same side you just stitched from. You go back through, but not in the same hole. And you will get a stitch that looks, it takes some time to get used to it, like that. It's a well, it'll look like this. It'll be a looped stitch. I don't have anything open. So you just go in, and then come back around and go in again. So like this, okay? So you just keep doing that, going all the way around the fingers. And remember, it's not going to be completely perfect. And I just realized I did something wrong. Oh well, it works. It still works. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. So, keep stitching and stitching and stitching until you get back up to your ring finger. So I'll be back once it's all done. Now remember, as you stitch, don't be afraid of the material. You want to pull as tight as possible when you pull the thread through. The tighter you pull, the tighter it will be. Just make sure it doesn't go around your finger. So you just pull, and it will go to where you want it to be, and it will be tight enough. You will see it on the other side slightly, but not after you paint it. Once you paint it, you won't really see it as much, I promise. That's why you paint it. Besides, you'd still see the stitching no matter what. So, you're getting closer to the end of your first finger. And you realized you still have extra space. Meaning, you didn't cut it far enough down. What you do is you keep stitching the way you were stitching, and when you get closer to that, you start snipping. So when you get to that portion, you just cut a little bit, and you cut and you cut and you cut. You cut and you stitch, and you cut and you stitch some more until you got it to where you want it to be. I actually did mine right today. Sometimes you'll make, when you hand sew it on, you'll make that mistake, or when you cut it, it won't be down far enough. And if it isn't after you finish sewing it, it's fine. You just go in, you cut that down to where you want it, and you go back in and you stitch it again. It's very, very simple fix. You just can't be afraid. Like I said earlier, you can't be afraid of the fabric. You can't be afraid of the materials. You can't be afraid of anything. If you're scared, you might make a mistake while doing this or whatever. Don't be. Like just now, I made a knot. That is the other problem with having, that's one of the problems with having long thread. Actually, the only problem. Because you have to keep tabs on the thread and make sure it doesn't get knotted. Sometimes you get lucky like I just did and it's not knotted nearly as bad as you thought it would be. So, just keep stitching and I'll meet you at the top. Alright, you made your way and you finished your finger. It's all sewn up. Now you need to lock the stitch. What you do is you go in this, you do the same thing as you've been doing. So do 2 stitches. We'll do the first one loose. So go 1 stitch. There we go. Don't pull it all the way. Leave it so there's a loop. And then you do a second stitch. When you go in, you see how my needle's coming in? Right there. You do it so that way it goes into the loop. And then when you pull it, both stitches will pull together and it'll lock it. So it won't pull, it won't mess up, it won't anything. You just cut it off. And you start over again for the next fingers. Now, the problem with the next fingers is it's going to be a little tricky, so I'm going to show you how to start it. And then, afterwards, I will meet you once you have your entire hand done. Hey, remember, this is all step 1. There are a few parts to it. Some of them are more tedious than others. So remember, you double knot your string. If you're right-handed like I am and you're doing your left hand, it gets a little tricky. But you figure out how to do it. And remember, this is my first time doing my left hand, or my right hand. So, it's a little rough on me too. Alright, now, you pull this up a bit, and you'll notice this pulls a little bit too. That's a good thing. That means you stitched high enough up. And if it didn't, it's fine. You can just stitch up that spot. So what you do is you cut across here with your needle and thread, and you stitch, and then stitch across. Remember, keep your, you see how you can kind of see it? Let me, there we go. You see how my fingers are apart? That's how you want to keep it when you're stitching it. That way it gives you enough space, it gives you the right, how you want. Because if you do it like this, there's no way to really find your fingers. So you keep them apart, even just a little bit is fine. It's gonna feel weird, I know, trust me, I know. It feels weird at first, but it'll get better. And then once you have all of that done, you'll be just about, once you get the sewing done, you'll be just about finished. There's just a couple more steps. And it gets a little tedious, but it'll look like this. Which, this one I haven't put my fingernails on it yet, so, yeah. Alright, so, what we do now is, remember, pull this up a bit. I use my middle finger to keep it up, and use the seam that was part of the stocking as a guide. Remember, try to keep it as straight as possible when you're doing this part. So you do the regular stitch where you go in and come like this. So you come in one way, and then you go back the opposite way, okay? And like I said earlier, just follow the shape of your hand. Just keep following it. I don't know if when you get better if you can do it without doing this. I know with me making my horns I can. I don't have to do the specific stitch before I start doing the loop stitch. Or I don't know what it's called honestly, so I just call it the loop stitch. Actually I call it my girlfriend stitch because my girlfriend taught me how to do this stitch. The one I was showing you how you do it, so for the to make it look like this. So go around, trace your finger with this regular stitch, and I will see you when we're ready to do the other stitch again. Okay, I stitched this finger, my ring finger, my middle finger, and my first finger. And remember, I didn't pull it yet. You do the 2 stitches, and then you put it through the first stitch, and you pull. So, now that you have all that done, I didn't pull it tight enough. There we go. Okay. I actually need another thing. Okay, now you cut again. If you cut on the original seam, it'll be a little tight, so it'll be a little hard to cut it. Okay, and then the other finger. There. See? Now you have 4 fingers. I'm just cutting an extra thread. Okay. You have 4 fingers now. Now you have to do the double stitch again. I'm actually going to cut this so it looks a little bit nicer. There. 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 And careful. I'm trying to get rid of the stuff we don't want to make it a little bit easier. Then we start to sew it. There we go. One more. There we go. See? Looks a little bit better. Now for this one you might have to use multiple pieces of string and everything. It's fine. It's just the way it works sometimes. There it is. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to do the loop stitch again. So this time we start from up here because we ended here, so we start at the top of the finger. Unless if you were able to get it so you didn't have to do the top of the finger, which sometimes on a good day you're able to. So you just stitch. So the needle's facing me. So I come in from facing you guys and pull. And you just keep doing that and doing that and doing that until you finish this hand. You finish up to here. The thumb will be a little bit harder because that one usually you do have to touch up a little bit. And if you left holes or anything, it's fine. We'll touch that up afterwards. So Just keep stitching and stitching and stitching. If you have to, for whatever reason, like you run out of thread, or you have to stop for the day or whatever because something came up, which honestly I would not advise. I would give as much time as you possibly can so you don't have to stop and come back to this, because it gets complicated to get it back on sometimes. As you can also see, it's kind of pulling away from my finger, so you just have to find the point on one end and push it through, and it'll just pull right together. And make sure it goes slow, so you make sure you get it the way you want it. So that way it looks nice. So say you have the problem that you run out of string. You stitch through once. What I would do is I'd let it loop around with my finger. Then you stitch it again, which I actually randomly do these during when I'm hand sewing it in general to make it more secure. So you let that one pull through, and what you do is you put this, pull this out a little bit, and you put this, just drop it through, and then you pull it tight and it locks itself. That way you don't have to worry about like later on, say something happens and you forgot and you didn't do a locking stitch. This will make it so that way you don't have to worry about it coming undone or anything like that. Everything will be nice and secure. If you noticed a hole, you can just go back. You'd pull it, you'd go, instead of keep going straight, you'd go backwards a little bit. Which that's fine, you can do that. There's really no rules in hand sewing. Like this kind of thing, I mean, because each person does it differently. Like this is the way my girlfriend taught me. So everyone learns differently. Everyone does different things. It's no big deal, really. If you have a different way of doing it, or someone shows you a better way, that's fine. I'm not going to be sitting here saying, this is the way to do it, this is the only way to do it, you have to do it this way. No, because I've heard of many other techniques. Like there's one where you can cut your fingers out first and then sew it shut. I tried doing it once with the sewing machine. There's many ways to do this kind of thing. So I will see you guys at the end. Unless if there's... Actually, no, wait. Wait a second. I'm going to show you guys this. Okay. I'm getting to the end, right? And I just realized I didn't cut enough for my middle finger. Because you can see, that's how much I have left over. So, the way to do this is you keep stitching as far as you can go, and then, actually no, I can cut it now. You just cut a little bit at a time, and then stitch some more. And just keep stitching down. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you only have to cut it once. That's why you keep stitching downwards. much. I didn't get lucky. So you just snip it again. So I need to do a little more. And you just keep sewing it until you get it to where you need it to be, and everything is perfect. So I will see you guys once I finish up to my first finger, and then we'll talk again. Alright, congratulations, you just finished 4 fingers. As I can tell right now, after we finish the thumb, I need to touch up the middle parts, because as you can see there's extra space. So unless wait, let me try something. Okay, there's only one extra, and that's the pinky. Everything else is fine. Okay, and there's just a couple of holes that I'm gonna have to patch up. So now for the thumb, which it's kind of the hardest one because of how you have to move your thumb down a bit, like that, because before it was all the way up here. So move it down a bit till it feels comfortable, and we're gonna sew it in, do the sketch around the thumb, and then we're going to sew it to finish it off. So remember, first you double knot your thread. And you just sew in and out, in and out. Until you have your the last of your fingers drawn out, and then we cut and sew. Right, see you guys in a minute. Alright, don't forget to lock the stitch. Do one stitch, let it hold the loop, and then do another stitch and pull it tight. Now just cut the string and cut up to where you stitched. I like to cut the excess a little bit to make it a little bit nicer. Especially on the thumb, because the thumb there's a lot of fabric, a lot of material. Now I know some of you know I do commissions. So with arm socks, these are the only things at the moment I will not do commissions on, because each person's hand is different. So it's kind of hard to make one size fits all arm socks. So I'd rather not start doing commissions on arm socks until I can figure out how to do a one size fits all. So for now, that's why I'm doing this tutorial, so that way you guys can make your own, and it's fairly inexpensive. You can get white stockings at Walmart, Target. At Walmart, I believe it's only like $8 or $9. The rest of the stuff you just either have to have or need to get. like the Snazaroo. For homestucks people, you usually have it. Everything else. So yeah. Alright, now you start doing the loop stitch again. So that way it'll make it look nice and pretty. So just keep doing that. Go all the way around. Then lock the stitch, and I will see you in the next part. Bye-bye. Alright, your last and final step for step 1 is to lock the stitch. So remember, you go through the same way, and then you do it so the needle's going inside the loop. Pull till it's tight. So now, wait, let me cut the string off. Now you have a hand. You can actually use your hand now. It's a miracle. Alright, now look for my next video. It will be step 2 on how to make these gorgeous things. Step 2, you will need clear nail polish, and you will still need your needle and thread. After step 2, you won't need needle and thread anymore. Alright, see you guys in the next video.